originally, but today we're going to talk about rhythm. My parents, they came over to the UK in the early 60s, and it was kind of roughly around the time when Jamaica was finding its independence, and like there was a thing called the Windrush when like Jamaicans were coming over here to do some work here and just start a new life. And like with them came a kind of music called ska, which is a derivative of another kind of music, which was one of the original musics from Jamaica. It was called mento. Jamaica kind of, with the ska and stuff, it was like a new thing. That it kind of teared off from that, and then it started to develop in its own way. It's totally unique. And then that later kind of melted into becoming dub reggae and stuff like that. But yeah, I kind of came from that world with rhythm. As I got older, like growing up in England, like we're so lucky, we've got so many different like trees to choose music from. So, you know, I had all sorts, like from like Splodgeness Abounds, you know, 2 pints of lager and a bag of grease, please. Adam and the Ants, Gary Newman, Bob Marley, like, you know, so all mixed in, like, you know, some reggae, some dub, like, and then, like, I kind of had an interest, like, in jazz collecting. You know, I was like all of 16 years old, like, you know, walking around like Manchester with like a big Mac on, like, you know, the guy from the Smiths or something, like, you know, jazz aficionado. And I was serious about collecting jazz from all over the world, like Japanese imported jazz from different, you know, like from Poland and all sorts of stuff. And, you know, so I got this interest, like, for diverse types of music and spoken word on records and stuff like that. Kind of started to make music. It was out of curiosity. I started to realise in the kind of mid-80s that some of the stuff that I was listening to was made on like these drum machines and stuff like that, and like they were starting to be accessible. I went into the music shops and they had like the 909 and the 808, stuff like that, in the second-hand shop. Yeah, okay. So I went back to the second-hand shop and found like a 303 and started to mess around with that and just making simple bass lines. Round about that time was about the time when there was an Ice-T track called Dog in the Wax, and like basically they used an 808 and a 303 in this track. It was just like a really simple bass line, and I was really into that kind of vibe then. And just before that, actually, you know, there was this guy called Cooly G from Philadelphia who did an entire album, like just with drum machine. I think it was a 909 or 808, I can't remember. And like it was self-made. Even the cover on the album was like they drew themselves, and you know, and like things like that used to excite me because it was like, wow, people doing stuff for themselves. It was the 80s. I'd actually read somewhere and all that Prince had his own recording studio, his own label. He used to, and I was, you know, things like that used to make me think, wow, you know, you can just do stuff yourself. And I was just in my bedroom, like by then I had a synth, drum machine, little keyboard, and they used to have these Tascam like recorded 4-track like recorders where you could get a cassette and you could record on 4 channels on the cassette. So I would put the cassette in, record drums on 1 channel and then the bass on the other channel, and then I had 2 other channels for doing riffs and other vocals or whatever, and then I could mix all them things down onto one channel, and then I'd have another 3 channels I could. So, you know, there'd be nothing else to do in my bedroom. So I'd start learning how to do my own mixing techniques, and then I would go to the second-hand shop, try and find things like little effects boxes, you know, so because I realised you could separate the snare, you know, like by putting a bit of reverb underneath it. We had 2 turntables and a microphone, and we used to cut and scratch. We were called Scratch Meet Masters. And then I brought the drum machine into that element, and then I realised that the drum machine was, for me, it was more important than the turntables and the mixing and everything else.